Five Nights at Freddy's 4 is easily one of the most confusing games in the entire FNaF franchise. Despite how much new information about the story it gives us, it doesn't actually show us a whole lot. Sure, it introduces the Bite of 83 and the Afton family, but besides that, there's not a lot we get from it. It's in this weird Schrodinger's cat situation where it's simultaneously lore heavy and lore light. And despite the importance of the small amount of information the game does give us, the game itself still feels incredibly disconnected from the rest of the franchise. Heck, the nightmares don't even appear, physically at least, in anything else besides the Tales from the Pizzaplex story. Even then, they're just dummies on rails. Despite all this confusion though, today I will be attempting to give an answer to a question people have been trying to solve for an entire decade. What exactly was Five Nights at Freddy's 4? Before we get into the bigger parts of the story though, we have to get one big necessary thing out of the way: the identity of the dreamer. A lot of people in the fanbase believe the crying child is the one having the nightmares. After the bite, Cece would be stuck in a coma, having to face off against his biggest fears. Then after that, his biggest fear, Fredbear. Nightmarish version of him that he has to use everything he's learned to defeat. I can't really say I blame people for believing this. I mean, the hospital equipment, the implication that he was in a coma, and the minigames all point to Crying Child being the one having the nightmares. Despite all this evidence, however, there's one small problem. Throughout the nights, you can sometimes hear a distorted version of one of the original phone calls from FNaF 1. It's quiet, distorted, and reversed, but that's Ralph alright. And there was only one person who could have ever possibly heard those phone calls, Michael Afton. And if you're thinking, well, maybe the phone call is just an Easter egg with no bearing on the story, or maybe it's ambient since Scott had nothing else on hand, well, think again. In a Steam post, Scott Cawthon actually clarified that he didn't put Easter eggs in the game for no reason. Every single small thing in the game, like the TV and the minigame, the hospital supplies, and the phone calls especially, hold at least some significance for the story. So unless the chewed up piece of gum that is the crying child's brain was able to predict the future and recreate perfectly in his coma, those nightmares can't be his. They're Michael Afton's. The phone calls aren't the only piece of evidence either. The survival logbook also further solidifies this. While deemed dubiously canon by a lot of people, the activity book actually gives us a lot of information about the story, not just for this theory by the way. It also provides us with, well, pretty much the only characterization for Cassidy and the crying child, and that's assuming the theory that they're the ones talking in the logbook is even correct, but that's a conversation for another day. The point I'm trying to make is that, yes, the logbook is canon or can at least tell us about the story. The logbook also tells us a lot about Michael. Through his many drawings and notes, we learn he's a pretty sarcastic and snarky guy. I mean, who wouldn't be? One drawing in particular, though, shows us something else. A drawing of Nightmare Fredbear under the activity prompting the reader to draw their recent dreams. This means we can confidently say Michael experienced the FNaF 4 nightmares. But in true FNaF fashion, answering this question only gives us another question. When is Michael having these nightmares? Again, the logbook gives us more information regarding this. We can solve this by placing the logbook in the timeline and cementing it as canon. Given everything from the book, like Michael's drawings and the sticky notes and what the book is about in general, there's a way to definitively place when the book happens, and it's actually easier than you might think. In the book, Michael talks about wanting a basket of cash instead of a basket of exotic butters. As y'all know, that is the prize he got after surviving, well, getting past the week at Circus Babies. He also talks about The Immortal and the Restless, the TV show he watches after every night in Sister Location. All of this places the logbook after Sister Location, and the fact that the nightmares are recent puts FNaF 4 after Sister Location as well. The logbook also has a ton of illustrations of the FNaF 3 office, which places it either during or after FNaF 3, though given the fact that there's nothing from Pizzeria Simulator and the fact that the book is supposed to act as a teaser for Pizzeria Simulator, we can place it during FNaF 3. I'll talk more about it in another video, maybe. But let's get back to this theory. So now we have a timeline. First, Sister Location, then the FNaF 4 nightmares, and then FNaF 3 and the survival logbook concurrently. That might seem non-helpful because we don't really know when Sister Location will take place, but it's actually just enough information. And right here is when things start getting interesting. Do you remember what happens to Michael Afton at the end of Sister Location? He is tricked into entering the scooping room when Ennard fires it up and strikes Michael. Michael's insides are turned into outsides, and Ennard is then able to enter his body and use it to finally leave the bunker. But during this process, there's another event that occurred. The scooper wasn't only designed to take things out, it was also built to insert things into its target. It was meant to inject remnant. Michael was injected with remnant. But who's remnant? Well, Molten MCI is the theory that William Afton took the endoskeletons from the original 4 animatronics, melted them down into malleable remnant, and put that remnant in the scooper and the Fun Times by association. It's a very plausible theory. It's backed up by the books, Henry's speech, Pizzeria Simulator's ending, and Candy Cadet's stories. So it's all but confirmed that Michael was injected with the spirits of the original missing children. In the FNaF novel The Fourth Closet, 4, we see this exact same thing happen to Charlie's friend Carlton. In this novel, William Afton has melted down the original animatronics down into one. When Carlton tries to rescue a kid that William kidnapped, William injects him in the heart with the extracted remnant. Instead of killing Carlton instantly though, as an injection of any kind of substance to the heart would usually do, the remnant actually keeps Carlton alive. This is exactly what happens to Michael Afton in the games. A more direct injection of remnant allows for Michael to stave off death after being gutted. There's something else that happens to Carlton as a result of the injection though. After being injected with the remnant, Carlton passes out and enters a sort of spirit realm. He realizes he's inside Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, the location in which the kids died. Carlton is then able to talk to them and realizes something is very wrong. Well, besides the fact that he's able to talk to dead people. The kids seem to believe William, or the Yellow Rabbit, is their friend. William is able to make them kidnap other children for him because they believe he's just trying to bring new friends for them. Carlton tries to make them see the truth by putting them all back together via drawings of them, which are essentially just stand-ins for the souls. After they're all put together, Carlton alters the kids' perceptions of William by making a new drawing, showing them the truth, showing them that William killed them all. The kids understand and take back control of the molten mass of animatronics to kill William. Now, apply all of this to Michael. After he gets injected with the remnants from the kids, he becomes directly connected to them. I believe those souls are the ones behind the creation of the nightmares. They shaped the spirit realm as a way to torture Michael. The reason they're hostile now, unlike how they acted with Carlton, is the same reason they're hostile in Sister Location. They believe Michael is the man who murdered them in the first place, William Afton. They appear as nightmarish versions of the vessels he stuffed them into as a way to finally get back at him. The souls torment Michael's soul, and the nightmare repeats over and over again, like his own personal hell. This isn't the only time we see this happening either. FNaF 4 was essentially a proto-ultimate custom night. I mean, the Spirit Realm could also very well be FNaF World or the FNaF 3 minigames, but that's a discussion for another day. Scott also used a similar, well, pretty much the exact same drawing idea in the first movie. In addition to that, the first movie also shows Mike being tortured in his nightmares by the dead children. This also fits with the parameters Molten MCI sets. All the spirits, plus a little more, are present in the game to torture Michael. The core four, obviously, are the spirits of the kids who possess the main band: Susie, Jeremy, Gabriel, and Fritz. Nightmare Fredbear, much like the actual animatronic, is a combination of both the Crying Child and Cassidy. Nightmare Fredbear, like Cassidy, would probably want to harm William. As for Crying Child, Nightmare Fredbear only appears to torture Michael after the end of the night minigame, in which he accidentally kills Cece, and disappears after the memory of Michael apologizing to him shows up. They both have similar goals, but as two spirits haunting the same thing, they need to be in agreement on their actions. Yes, I know they're all technically haunting Ennard, but you get what I mean. I'll get to what I think the minigames are later, but there's a lot more spirits haunting Michael than just the MCI kids I haven't mentioned yet. I mentioned Phone Guy before, but why is he here? Well, I believe that instead of being simply a distorted memory in Michael's nightmares, we are hearing the real Phone Guy. His spirit, at least. In the week before, a choose-your-own-adventure book that sheds more light on Phone Guy, we see even more of his story, including his death. In the true ending, after recording the night 4 phone call, Ralph is taken by the animatronics and stuffed into a costume. This isn't the end of Ralph the Phone Guy, though. If FNAF's haunting rules are consistent, Phone Guy would have absolutely possessed the animatronic here. As a possessed animatronic, he would have been a ripe target for William in his goal to collect all the remnants in the original pizzeria. Ralph's remnant was then put into the scooper, and eventually into Michael alongside everybody else. Though given that he's an adult and probably knew Mike, he never attacked them. It's why we only hear him in the background. Heck, this isn't even the only time Phone Guy appears in a torture, nightmare, spirit realm thing. We see this exact thing happen again in Ultimate Custom Night, when his phone calls are played as a loud noise. Sure, that might not have been the real spirit of Ralph, but it's close enough. After FNAF 4, Phone Guy would either have been in Molten Freddy or would move on entirely. Either way, he didn't really contribute to any of the murders as far as we know. Like in FNAF 4, his soul stayed in the background of things. Another strange character is Nightmare Balloon Boy. Nightmare BB is easily one of the strangest nightmares. He was added in the Halloween update to FNAF 4 along with several other characters, but unlike them, he was the only one made canon. What makes him different? What makes him so special? To figure this out, we'll have to talk about the other characters. Well, as I explained in my previous video on the shadows, wink wink nudge nudge, Nightmare is deeply associated with the Mimic. It's the Agony based around the tragedies associated with the Mimic. I believe the reason Nightmarion wasn't canon in this game is because of that association. At the time of FNAF 4, there'd be no way or reason for the Mimic's Agony to be here. And if you're of the belief that Nightmarion is Charlie, there would be no way for her to be here either. As we've seen in FNAF 3 and Pizzeria Simulator, the puppet was roaming around, not bound to a specific location. William never quite managed to catch Charlie, so he was never able to extract her remnant and put it in the scooper. The Jackos are pretty easy to explain. They're variants of the original nightmares that, as the name suggests, resemble jack-o'-lanterns. They're simply Halloween reskins. There's a chance they could be related to the Mimic and Fallfest too, but like I said with Nightmarion, that's also why they're non-canon. Nightmare Mangle, though, doesn't really have a lot of issues at first glance lore-wise. Given the similarities he has to Nightmare BB, she should be absolutely canon. I mean, how different could they be? Well, the main difference is that the original Mangle, or Toy Foxy, was a toy animatronic built specifically for the FNaF 2 restaurant. After the bite of 87, the toy animatronics were deemed faulty and were all scrapped, which resulted in the freeing of the souls. Yes, the DCI did happen. That's why we don't see any Nightmare toy variants. They can't have possibly been in the scooper, because William was never able to harvest that remnant, and so they were never able to haunt Michael. While Balloon Boy has all the characteristics of the toys, he actually wasn't one. In fact, the Ticket to Fun Ephemera kit shows that Balloon Boy was built for the original restaurant, alongside the puppet. He was never scrapped, so the soul was still trapped inside of him. How lucky for us. Much like how Phone Guy was able to be in the scooper, Balloon Boy was probably still in the FNaF 1 restaurant at the time William came back to get Remnant. Like the others, his Remnant was put into the scooper. This sets his spirit up perfectly to torment Michael. That's all the characters that appear wrapped up, but there's another layer to the torment. The setting of the nightmares itself. Because if the MCI kids made this version of the spirit realm like how they did with Carlton, why does it look like a bedroom? Why not the restaurant they died in? Well, there's a whole other set of dead kids I haven't yet mentioned. A set of dead kids that might be bigger in numbers than even the DCI and MCI combined. The kids tortured and killed as a result of circus babies. The Funtime animatronics were built by William Afton to be death traps. No, not that one. They were designed to capture and kill to allow for William to gain Remnant even quicker. With their advanced robotics, they were able to distract parents and lure children in by mimicking, no, not that one, by mimicking the voices of their parents and snatching them up. The kids who weren't immediately killed by their large claw mechanisms were put in one of 3 observation rooms. The Plush Trap Chamber, the Fredbear's Chamber, yes it is his chamber, we just haven't seen anything of it, and the Bedroom Chamber. I believe the children that died here as a result of these experiments and whose remnant were subsequently put in the scooper are the ones who shaped the environment of the nightmares. They shaped the room, fun with Plush Trap, and Fredbear's. So now we figured out where the 3 layers of the nightmares come from. The characters are formed by the missing children and Phone Guy. The setting is formed by the victims of the Funtime experiments, and the minigames are formed by Michael himself. The minigames are the crying child's memories, yes, but Michael is the one bringing them back to show him. But why? Well, I believe Michael is attempting to do the same thing Carlton did. He's trying to put together the fractured soul of his little brother. That's why Nightmare Fredbear only appears to torment Michael on Night 5 and 6. Before Night 5, Michael was sharing their worst memories to draw out his brother. He knew it was going to be tough, but it would be worth it. The crying child is able to remember, and he's angry. CC originally wasn't going to torment him, why would he? The memories grew worse, and they changed all of that though. He then started going after Michael with everything he had. And then after Night 5, Michael shows him the worst memory yet, the bite of 83. Michael was finally forced to confront what he did so long ago. This was the toughest nightmare he would have to face, and he managed to come out relatively unscathed. When he survives that night, Michael is then able to show him what happened after. Michael apologized for what he did. He was truly sorry, and that's all the crying child wanted, all that his soul needed. After this memory, Nightmare Fredbear stops attacking Michael. Michael had successfully put his brother together, but since Michael was focused more on his brother, he wasn't able to put together the other children. Not now, at least. Before he could do that, Michael's puppeted body had run its course. The wires that previously made up Ennard would swiftly exit his bruised and broken body and leave it crumpled on the concrete. Michael is then finally freed from the torment. Michael would then... Wait, what's that laughing? Nightmare. Nightmare is the ultimate culmination of everything Michael has faced. The agony of every tragedy William had his hands in, his wickedness made flesh. Like with Nightmarion, I talk about Nightmare in my other video. You don't have to watch it to understand this, but I wouldn't be opposed to it. Agony, much like Remnant, can attach to items. Shadow Freddy was made up of all that agony, and it was attached to what the Remnant was attached to. The agony from everything William did to people would have also been in the scooper, and it would have also been injected into Michael. The saturation of all that pain and anger was now mixed with Michael's pain and fear. Throughout the nightmares, the agony would grow even stronger. After Michael spews up the wires that make up Ennard, he is passed out, and the nightmares stop. That agony wasn't letting this opportunity be passed up though. In those short few moments, it'd take the shadowy form of his worst nightmare and haunt him. Michael would persevere, using everything he had learned to finally beat his nightmare. Michael took back his body from the clutches of death and walked away. But that wasn't the end of the agony, not by a long shot. The agony was still very much attached to Michael, and it would follow him around, appearing in the corner of his eye at Fazbear's Fright. That's not all that stuck around though. Michael was able to get back up, sure, but he only survived because a piece of all the souls still clung to him. That's why Ennard's eyeballs look back up to Michael. They know there's something missing, and they know Michael has it. The remaining bits of spirit would also follow him around. Have you ever had a dream, or a nightmare in this case, and woke up still being able to hear or even see parts of it? Imagine that, but supernaturally powered and permanent. That is what the Phantoms are in FNaF 3. They're not called the Phantoms for no reason, no, they're literal pieces of ghosts. Though much less powerful, having to attack Michael in the waking world, they still pack a punch. They're able to disorient Michael and disrupt the systems of the building. They never quite managed to get Michael killed, but there was still one other thing they did, this time unintentionally, at Michael's benefit. After the Fazbear's Fright Fire, Michael found a new job as a Fazbear franchisee. Michael knew his real goal here though, to get all the spirits together and finally end the not-so-literal nightmare, once and for all. Michael didn't know, but he acted as a sort of beacon to the animatronics whose soul he shared. This is something we've seen elsewhere. In Fazbear Frights, the book not the location, Detective Larson is infected with Afton's Agony. The Stitch Wraith manages to burn it out. After this event, Larson is given visions of the original location with the ball pit and is almost drawn to it. Larson gets there and investigates, and this leads to him solving the mystery of the Stitch Wraith and Eleanor. There's a lot more to it than that, but the same thing is happening here, just with the souls being drawn to the human this time. This could also be why Molten Freddy says, "together again," upon jump-scaring Michael. Sure, he could be talking about Michael, but I think he's talking about finally being reunited with the missing parts of the souls within him. Michael survives all this again, and manages to free everyone. And that's FNaF 4 solved. Thank you for sticking around to the end of the video. I went on a lot of tangents, but they were worth it. I know I didn't mention the box, but that's because as important as the box seems, it's clearly not pertinent to the story after FNaF 4. I'll still try to take a crack at it here though, for fun. The box is said to be the pieces put together, but it was never able to be opened. It was best left forgotten for now. I believe the box was a representation of the spirits Michael wasn't able to put together at the time of FNaF 4. It's better left forgotten for now, because Michael would only ever be able to do it later. That's my assumption. Oh, by the way, my next video will be about the origins of Glitchtrap. I genuinely believe I've solved him, but you'll have to wait until next time. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe if you really enjoyed it and want to see more. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a nightmarish rest of your day. And remember, tomorrow is another day.